Hello and welcome to the Unit 2 Section 5 video on inequality word problems. So we're wrapping up this unit with a look at some real-world situations, and what we want to do is review some of those key words that you may run into when talking about word problems that are going to present an inequality. So here are some key words that you will want to keep in mind. So for less than, we have several keywords. So we have keywords such as fewer than, smaller than, under, below, and beneath would be another one. So let's see if we can squeeze that one in. Okay. Now, for less than or equal to, you have words such as at most, does not exceed, maximum, no more than, and up to. Okay, these are words that you may see in a word problem that would indicate less than or equal to. For more than, you have greater than, larger than, above, exceeds, and over. And then for more than or equal to, words that you may want to keep in mind are at least, minimum, and no less than. So these are just key phrases to keep in mind as we work through some of these word problems. Be on the lookout for some of these phrases. So let's do some examples. Rick won 17 tickets playing a game. To get a prize, he needs to win at least 30 tickets. How many more tickets can he win to get a prize? So we're going to, just like we did with the equation word problems, we're going to identify what our unknown is. So we're going to let X be how many more tickets to get a prize. That's going to be our X. So now we're going to set up an inequality. So he won 17 tickets, so he already has 17 tickets. He needs to get X more tickets, because we need to find out how many more he needs to get. And he needs to get at least that many. So we're going to be greater than or equal to, and then 30 is what he needs. If he has more than 30, he's good. If he has 30, he's good. He's not good if he has less than 30. So now we're going to solve this inequality by subtracting 17 from each side, and we get X is greater than or equal to 13. So just like with equation word problems, inequality word problems require a word answer. Rick must win at least 13 more tickets. All right, for number 2, bracelets cost $3 each. Rachel can spend no more than $20. How many bracelets can she buy? So let's let X be the number of bracelets that she can buy. So we're going to set up our inequality now. Well, we know that bracelets cost $3 each, and we're going to multiply that by the number of bracelets that she can buy. And that has to be less than or equal to $20, because she can't go over $20. She can spend $20 exactly because that's what she has, but she can't go over it. So she can buy up to $20 worth. So we're going to divide each side by 3. And you're going to get a decimal answer when you put it in your calculator. You're going to get 6.6666 repeating. Okay? Now, what does this mean for us? Well, we know that she can't buy 7 bracelets, because if she buys 7 bracelets, that would be $21, and that would be too much. She can't buy a fraction of a bracelet, so therefore we're going to have to round this down to 6. So our solution is Rachel can buy at most 6 bracelets. All right, let's take a look at a couple more examples. So for example 3, Max earns $9 per hour. This week he's hoping to earn at least $200. How many hours would he need to work? And we're going to assume here that he can only work whole numbers of hours. He can't work any fractions of an hour for pay. So we're going to let X be the number of hours worked. So now we'll set up our inequality. Well, if he earns $9 per hour, he will get 9 times the number of hours he works. That's how much money he would get. And he wants to get at least 200, which means he can go over that, but the minimum he wants to earn is $200. So now if we divide each side by 9, we have X is greater than or equal to 22.22. And if we, and I believe that's repeating. Now, if we assume that he can't work a fraction of an hour, if he gets 22 hours worth of work, he won't quite reach 200. So we've got to round him up. He needs to work at least 23 hours. So X is going to be greater than or equal to 23. So our solution will be he would need to work at least 23 hours. And the rest of that will be down below for you. All right, let's take a look at the 4th example. Jamie has $32. He starts shoveling driveways and earns $7 per driveway. He needs at least $75 to buy a skateboard he wants. How many driveways does he need to shovel? So we are going to let X be the number of driveways. So now let's set up our inequality. So he needs at least $75 and he earns $7 per driveway. So he already has $32. So we're going to add that in first. Now he needs to shovel driveways at $7 per driveway. That's $7 times the number of driveways. That's got to be greater than or equal to his goal of $75. So now we will solve this inequality by subtracting 32 from both sides. So that leaves us with 7x is greater than or equal to 43. We'll divide each side by 7. And when we do, we get x is greater than or equal to 6.1428, repeating. It doesn't really matter what these numbers are after decimal. The point is we have a decimal, okay? He cannot shovel a fraction of a driveway for a fraction of the pay. So we got to bump him up to 7 driveways. So he must shovel at least 7 driveways to get the money that he is looking for. So that is our solution. He needs to shovel at least 7 driveways. And again, the rest of that answer is down here at the bottom for you. Okay, let's take a look at example 5. So for example 5, a taxi charges a $3 fee and charges 75 cents per mile. Angela can spend no more than $20. How many miles can she travel in the taxi? So we're going to let x be the number of miles traveled. So now let's set up our inequality. Well, the taxi charges a $3 fee, so we're going to add that right up front. And then we're going to add it to the number of miles times 75 cents a mile. And that has to be less than or equal to 20 because she cannot exceed $20. So now we're going to subtract 3 from each side. And that gives us 0.75x is less than or equal to 17. And when we divide each side by 0.75, we're going to get x is less than or equal to 22.666666666. Okay, that goes on forever. Well, we're assuming she cannot ride a fraction of a mile for a fraction of the price. So we're going to have to cap her at 22 miles. So the solution is going to be she can travel no more than 22 miles. For example 6, Alex has $30 saved and he earns $12 per hour. He wants to have at least $150 in a savings account. How many hours can he work? So we're going to find out what x is. X is number of hours worked. And we're going to set up our inequality based on that. So he has $30 saved already. So we're going to put that up front. And we're going to add it to $12 times the number of hours he works. And that has got to be greater than or equal to 150. Because if he exceeds 150, he's met his goal. No problem. But if he doesn't get to 150, he hasn't met his goal. So we're going to subtract 30 from each side. That gives us 12x is greater than or equal to 120. And divide each side by 12. And we are left with x is greater than or equal to 10. And this one actually came out nice and round. So the answer is fairly straightforward. He must work at least 10 hours for him to meet his savings account goal. All right, let's take a look at example 7. Allison practices her violin for at least 12 hours per week. She practices for 3/4 of an hour each session. If Allison has already practiced 3 hours this week, how many more sessions remain for her to meet or exceed her weekly practice goal? So let's let x be the number of sessions needed. So we'll set up our inequality. We know that she has already practiced for 3 hours this week. And we know that each of her sessions is 3/4 of an hour. So we're going to do plus 3/4 times the number of sessions she needs. And we need to see if this will meet or exceed her goal of 12 hours. So we're going to start by subtracting 3 off of each side. That gives us 3/4 x is greater than or equal to 9. Now, remember how to get rid of a fraction. We are going to multiply by the reciprocal. So if you multiply each side by 4/3, we are going to get x is greater than or equal to 9 times 4 gives us 36 over 3, and 36 over 3 is 12. So this means that she must have at least 12 more sessions. She needs at least 12 more sessions. All right, example 8. Ryan is a wrestler trying to make weight. He currently weighs 200 pounds. If he cuts 2 pounds per week, how many weeks will it take him to weigh less than 175 pounds? So, we're going to let X be the number of weeks needed. So we'll set up our inequality. He is currently at 200 pounds. And he is trying to drop 2 pounds a week. So 2 times the number of weeks is going to be subtracted from the 200. And once he is at or below 175, he will have met his goal. So we will subtract 200 from each side. And that gives us negative 2x is less than or equal to negative 25. And when we divide each side by negative 2, remember we have to flip the inequality because we divided by a negative, and that gives us 12.5. So it's going to take him the rest of that week to be at his weigh-in, so it's going to take him 13 weeks at least. So our answer here is going to be, it will take him at least 13 weeks. Example 9, Chris wants to order DVDs over the internet. Each DVD costs $15.99 and shipping the entire order costs $9.99. If he can spend no more than $100, how many DVDs could he buy? So we're going to let X be the number of DVDs, see how many he can buy. So let's set up our inequality. Well, we know that shipping is $9.99 up front. And we're going to add that to the $15.99 times the number of DVDs that he's going to buy at that price. He cannot spend more than $100, so this has got to be less than or equal to 100. So we're going to subtract the $9.99 from each side. That's our flat shipping fee. And when you put that into your calculator, you will find that's 90.01. And then we're going to divide each side by $15.99. Again, use your calculator for this because we are working with some decimals. So X is going to be less than or equal to 5.6291, and that continues on. So you can't buy a fraction of a DVD, so we're going to have to cap out the number of DVDs he can buy at 5. So our solution, remember a word solution for a word problem, he can buy 5 DVDs. And finally, example 10. Pet Supplies makes a profit of $5.50 per bag on its line of natural dog food. If the store wants to make a profit of no less than $5,225, how many bags of dog food does it need to sell? So we're going to let our variable be what we don't know, bags of dog food sold, and we are going to write our inequality. So our inequality here is going to be the amount of profit that we make off of each bag of dog food times the number of bags of dog food that we sell. That has got to be greater than or equal to our profit goal of $5,225. So we're going to divide each side by $5.50. And we're going to see what that comes out to. And it actually comes out even. That's 950. So our solution to this problem is at least 950 bags must be sold. All right, that does it for this section and for the unit on inequalities.